Yeah, it was about, I don't know, my mid-20s, and I was living a sketchy life, managing a club that was like 50%, 75% brothel, negative things like that, which I would never do, ever. Even before my spiritual awakening about 10 years ago, then more recently, the finishing touch 3 years ago. But there were some guys there that came in and introduced me to jazz music, really. A series of guys that would come in. I may have looked the other way and taken some bribes, and not counted some dances, things like that. But that was the lifestyle back then, and I was given CDs. And there was one guy that came in and loaded me up with John Coltrane. Really good introduction to jazz. There was, I got into Monk after that. I got into Monk, and there's Mingus in there, Charles Lloyd, Forest Flower concert from 1967. That's a good one to get into if you're easing yourself into that. And I always liked jazz, but I started off just liking the drums, and it's like, I like the bass. And the funny thing is the horns were the last thing for me to get into. My guitar playing, when I play guitar, always has heavy jazz influence in it. But now the saxophones, the woodwinds, clarinets, those are my favorite instruments, and they hold a deep meaning, because although any human played instrument is an articulation of that person's emotions, what have you, there's a specific significance to a woodwind or anything you blow into, because you're using your lungs to create that sound. And this is an AI talk again, because I'm saying something could happen here, and I like to think hopeful. While pop music is being proven to be something that always was something that inherently is meant to be bought and sold, people are now seeing that it can be recreated with AI, and apparently there's artists that have no problem having 95% of their work be auto-generated, and that's just sad. But this could also spark a revolution of people that want to hear human-based art. It really could, And getting into jazz music, if you seek more in your noise emissions, and you want to have a thing, as Coltrane would say, get a thing going on where there's no observation to when a song should begin or end. There's no theatrics. People that play instruments realize that everything's been done before, and I think that's where a musician either goes one way or the other way. I mean, you can stay making 3-minute songs, or you can go into long elaborations, free-form or structured music that just has no rules in the sense of when it should begin or end. And I came across, go back to Coltrane, I started listening to Coltrane. I didn't like any of that stuff at first, and I just kept listening to it. I did realize right away there's a discipline, and it's like you felt like you'd accomplished something getting through the experiences. And something happened. Yeah, something happened when I heard Love Supreme and Crescent and Impressions, that era. But also specifically the Half Note Club live performances from '65. Or you put it on at first and just like, man, what is this? I think even Miles Davis walked into those and said that very thing. And then I started reading the descriptions of people who come into this small little club, packed in. Coltrane would be up on this tiny stage, and this is after he had been going for a while. He's well known, and people talk about being in there, and it was like some sort of spiritual / religious experience, and they would step outside for a minute, and they go back into this vortex of sound. And that became my favorite Coltrane recording, is those half note sessions, which or titled One Up, One Down. It's the definitive performance of One Up, One Down. It's about 30 minutes. Something clicked. I understood there's a whole other level of musical experience. One, I'm very particular about singer-songwriter music, but the first time this epiphany happened was when my dad had me listen to Sgt. Pepper. He made us listen to headphones. I was very young, and that got me into psychedelic music. He's like, oh, you can hear all this in the background, and there's all this stuff that's meant to be heard, and I accept that. The other big epiphany was this locking in with Coltrane in all the different forms of jazz, because, that experience, listening to those half-note shows, not the best audio. There's just these men up there giving everything. And you don't necessarily have to be giving everything, but just linking up with these sound waves and playing until it sounds like they're about to drop. And at some point during that type of jamming, something just happens. Something cosmic happens. And I've experienced this many times. As I mentioned, I can't remember. I have like 500 random recordings of things that I did in my apartment over 10 years. I don't remember how I did half that stuff, because you go to this realm. And when you hear Coltrane playing this stuff, like you should start to feel exhausted. And then I realized, well, wait a minute, music is something completely different. It's a mental workout. And if you think about it, you're building neurons. It's probably really positive to follow a long-form musical experience, like those 20 to 30-minute version of One Up, One Down from 1965 that I'm referring to. And that opened up a whole new world for me, where I realized that why worry about trying to make something fresh and new with chords and everything that had been done before, just to have someone tell you, oh, this sounds like that, this sounds like that, oh yeah, it sounds like this, it sounds like that. Why not just throw all that out the window, and like Coltrane always would say at the beginning of the songs, you hear him talking about, let's just get a thing going, let's get a spiritual thing going, where you just draw up emotions without context. And AI will never be able to do that. And even if you were to prompt a long jazz song where you're like, do a high blow here, or pull back on an artificial reed here, and the whole thing was intricately augmented, it's still, first of all, that'd be a tedious experience. You would never be able to capture what reeds can do, what hitting a real drum pad could do, hitting the side of a drum pad, loosening, tightening the drum pad, tuning a acoustic piano a certain way, tuning the guitar a different way. There needs to be a new movement where people get back into cerebral music and fight what prompts can do. You want to fight prompts and understand the beauty of being able to get through a long form thing where a guy's blowing into a reed. He's using his breath. That's not easy to do. And circular breathing and all that stuff. And it's someone that can circular breathe, that is like a spiritual gift.